Brazil ETF, share code EWZ on the New York Stock Exchange tracks the Brazilian Stock Exchange, and its largest constituents are companies like Petrobras, Vale and Itaú Unibanco.
Well done.
You put it there just to see if you could trip me up.
Yeah, so Petrobras is kind of like, the state oil company. It's got substantial private interest, been a bit of a mess lately because they discovered some deep level stuff. The banks, Itaú Unibanco is one, but there are a whole bunch of them, Bradesco and others. There's some cell phone companies. Vale, of course, is a company similar to Billiton, Iron Ore, etc. But hang on, Brazil, very unreliable country until about 20 years ago, where it suddenly got its act together under Lula da Silva. He's now gone. Dilma Rousseff is the president. The currency has stabilized, used to have a lot of inflation, big population, big expanding consumer market, very similar to this one. And certainly one of the sort of preeminent movers in the last decade is the BRICS nations. My only overwhelming sense of them is that they have currency issues and they have the same kind of economic disparities as we have here. So I'm not sure you'd go from here to there looking for something different. It's a bit more of the same, if you know what I mean.
We know what you mean, Paul. Generally, we can read through the lines, or what's the statement that you make there? We can read
between the lines.
Between the lines. Thank you very much. Okay, so we can't trade this one on our platform, but does Brazil resonate with you?
Look, I think there's some top quality businesses in there. Just to name one more of the banks, Banco do Brazil. I think from a quality perspective, there's a lot of top quality businesses. The index hasn't done well for the last probably year or two. And the reasons is really similar story to South Africa. You've got labor unrest, you've got the Fed playing havoc in terms of the underlying currency. So the Brazilian real has sold off quite aggressively. So the question is, does that present value for an investor? In my mind, it does. You've got a combination of bad news and top quality businesses.
What do you make of this sentiment around the deceleration of emerging markets? I mean, that's a new buzzword on news desks, Paul.
No, I think that's also nonsense. I think they're going to reaccelerate very soon. I think what happened at the beginning of this year is we had a bit of a stumble. We had some street riots in Rio and then also in places like Turkey. And then suddenly this taper talk got US bond yields kind of jumping up. And so people got the idea that the sort of party's over and that the best returns are to be had in the safest markets. So what do you want to bother with, the carnival down in the southern hemisphere? So I think that changes though, because the one thing that Europe does not have is lots of young people. And lots of young people will require lots of services, financial services, consumer services and telecommunication services. So in the long run, that's where it's going to be.
Do you want a piece of trivia? Do you know what the average age is in South Africa?
The average or median age, but it's young, right? It's under 20. It's like 17 or 18
24,
or something.
24. Wow. We have a very, very young population.
And Brazil is probably the same or younger.
Yeah, as you say, more of the same. From an investment perspective,
I actually own the Brazil index, and I bought it in my New York account when all those street riots were happening in Rio, and I'm up like 15% on it. But as it goes, that was just a sort of a timing trade rather than a huge wish to be there.
Hot or not, Sepo, on the Brazil ETF?
Look, I think you've got similar issues to South Africa, but the difference is that from a valuations perspective, Brazil index is at a big discount. So from my mind, it's very hot.
Paul?
Yeah, I'm hot enough. I couldn't call it hot too.
Hot enough.